Blessed love, give thanks for your presence with us. We glorify Haile Selassie the first in all doings and saying, the Honorable Priest Isaac here with you, just giving thanks for life. Of course, I am honored that you would have taken the time to come and sup with us. And of course, as I said there, we will be speaking of Haile Selassie, the first relationship with the nation that they refer to as Israel. Now, before we go there, I want to introduce and reintroduce to you the magazine, Kidemi. Many of you would have already gone to the website, which is priestisaacinstitute.com, and you would have already taken the time to browse through at least the magazine, Kidemi. I'm very thankful for those who would have taken the time to actually go through the pages to get a good understanding of what information and inspiration is available for you inside of the magazine, Kidemi. But listen to me, family, this is very important. Remember that the next edition of this innovative magazine will be coming to you on the 21st day of December. I'm talking about this year, 2024. So here it is, the man. The 24th day of December. On that day, that will be the official launching of the next edition. And many of you may actually be here with us because remember, that is the same time that we will be doing the winter solstice experience. But before I go to the winter solstice experience, remember, those of you who have businesses, those of you who are entrepreneurs, those of you who have your different companies, enterprises, whatever partnerships, remember, this is your opportunity to advertise with us for the upcoming edition of Kidemi. I want you to understand me good. So you can get a full page ad. You can get a half of a page ad. You can get a quarter page ad. You can be on board when the next train comes to the station, and we will take you around the world. I'm talking about in the magazine, Kidemi. Keep in mind, we have tens of thousands of subscribers right now. It is a free magazine. We have done so many different things. I'm talking about in the realms of marketing. There's different, if you want to say, tricks in the marketing game. We have applied all that we have learned. I want you to understand, family, when you hear me come and speak, I'm not just speaking because I can speak. I would have taken the time to invest in myself. In the same way you hear me encourage you to invest in yourself, I would have invested in myself. I spend money and invest in myself. You understand? So whatever courses, whatever programs I would have gone through, the techniques and the strategies that I would have learned, I've applied them and they work. You understand? So for sure, I'm encouraging you, Royal Family, to invest and advertise with the upcoming edition of the magazine, Kidemi. For sure, we will be highlighting many different other companies and enterprises internationally. We will be advertising marinas, and we will be advertising high-end resorts. That's in the next upcoming edition. So whatever business you may have, you will be amongst businesses like such, because you must keep in mind, again, because of the rigorous marketing strategies that I would have applied, I can tell you that many people are reading the magazine. People that don't even know who I am. So it's not a case of, oh, yes, I know Priest Isaac, let me check out his magazine. No, it's a case of, yeah, Kidemi, that's the magazine. Who is it that put this together? A man by the name of Priest Isaac. Let's see what he's saying. You see, so I'm telling you, family, once you take a spot with us, whatever spot it is, as I said, it's like you're catching a train that is just going to carry you around the world several times over, with whatever product, whatever service you have to offer. So again, just contact me, priestisaacinstitute.com. Of course, that's the website, priestisaacinstitute.com, for those of you who just want to read the magazine. Of course, the link is in the description below, actually, and you just press it the magazine will appear before you, and you can browse through it, share it with a friend. I'm asking you to share it with a companion, with whoever, and let them understand what it is that we have to offer. But for those of you now who want to patronize the product, for those of you who want to advertise with us, not just because you like it, I'm happy for that too, but because you want to enhance your business, to improve your cash flow. And obviously, more people will be aware of the business that you have to offer. You can definitely email us, Priest Isaac Institute at gmail.com. And all of that is in the description below. Family, those of you who have never seen the movie A Petty Mech, it's right here in the magazine. You just press the button and a Petty Mech will appear. For those of you who have not seen the movie Anu, the Ancient City, it's right here in the magazine. Remember, Anu, the Ancient City, has already been chosen as a finalist in 2 international film festivals. So in South Africa and of course in Italy. So for sure you'll be watching a highly respected film when you press this button here and watch Anu the Ancient City. So as you can see, this is for if you are into business, which everyone should be into. I can't understand why you yourself, you are a business. That's the mode of survival, to be buying and selling or selling, and that's just reality. So for sure, if you want more people to know what you have, whether it is a idle restaurant or whether it is a health food store, I'm just touching my brother Priest, a speedy, give thanks. This will be a nice addition for your marketing, my brother. Yeah, definitely to be a part of Kidemi. So when people come through St. Thomas and the VI, they're gonna look for you and what you have to offer. So yes, Royal Family, for those of you who are serious about this, remember, not because I said December, we actually over time when it comes to collecting the clients. So by right, we should be bringing this to an end right now, as far as those who will be advertising with us. So you should contact me right away and let me know that, hey, I want to be in the next episode, the next edition of Kidemi. What do I have to do? And that's it. And we'll take it from there. Don't worry. I ain't gonna bite. We will take care of you. We will help you if you're serious to promote your business. All right.
It's the Winter Solstice Extravaganza, a festival unlike any other in the world. Join us for 5 days and 5 nights in the Caribbean island of Antigua. Experience our beaches, our historic island tours, splendid accommodations, and our plant-based meals. And of course, the sunrise and the sunset hike to the Stonehenge of the Caribbean, Green Castle Hill, Mount Anu, amongst the megaliths that align with the stars. Reserve your spot today and join us from Wednesday the 18th to Sunday the 22nd of December 2024 for the Winter Solstice Extravaganza. Visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or email us, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com.
Yes, beautiful. And let me just remind you, those of you who will be coming for the Winter Solstice experience, you'll be here when we officially launch the next edition of the magazine Kidemi. The magazine Kidemi will be launched, the next edition will be launched on the 21st day of December, which is the Saturday evening. We will be having a beautiful banquet. I'm talking a gala affair. We're definitely going to have those who will be advertising with us there, special invitation. And of course, we'll have some other dignitaries that will be invited. I will be making a special presentation on the current magazine. And of course, I will be making another presentation on the new magazine, the new edition, which will be coming out on the 21st day of December. So remember, we are already in December. To remember, we are already in the laboratory working on that edition. So this is why I am telling you, those of you who will be advertising with us, now is not the time to think about it. Now is the time to email me and say, yes, what it is that I have to do to be a part of the next edition of the magazine, Kidemi. But for sure, family, I'm looking forward to those of you who will be leaving your home to come and visit me. I don't know if you understand how much I appreciate people that say, hey man, I want to come and spend 5 days with the priest and see this Green Castle stuff he always talking about. And the whole works, don't worry. I'm just being a kind of, a bit cheeky with it, but it's going to be a blast. It's going to be a full joyous and experience for you. I'm talking about the sunrise and the sunset hike to Green Castle Hill. And remember, the Green Castle Hill energy is also a mission of love, a mission of preservation of a sacred site. So it's all inclusive too. Plus, again, as I just said, we're going to have the beautiful banquet. We're going to have a whole yoga retreat. And of course, everything else you heard about on the ad. So just contact me. Remember, what our all-inclusive package obviously doesn't really include your plane fare. So you need to get that in order as early as possible. If I was you, I would start to look at, check your travel agency and see, check your boss, check your manager, whoever you need to talk to, your supervisor, human resource department, and let them know, I want to take 5 days off, 6 days off, 7 to include the travel, so I can go to the Caribbean, so I can be with the Honorable Priest Isaac for 5 days. We're going on the island tour. I'm going to take in some sun, sea, and sand. I'm going to eat some good idle food, etc., etc. So I'm looking forward to you coming and spending a moment with me. The Ethiopian history itself is something that when you speak of it, of course, you have the history. We've been debating this or reasoning about this even on Rasta Roundtable about the authenticity of the history, especially as it relates to the biblical narrative. Now, follow me good, eh? Now, just the whole concept now. I want you to follow this good, because I'm going to be going into a document now, that a study really a thesis coming out of Howard University, speaking of the relationship between Ethiopia and the place that they call Israel today. Now, I'm going to highlight more so the relationship between Haile Selassie the first and the so-called state of Israel. I want us to take a look at how the emperor would have approached the whole concept of this state that was founded by the Yiddish Khazanian people from Poland and Russia, by the Zionists, really, Herschel and these fellas, from the time of the Balfour Agreement until they came in with the might of Britain and America to shake up the place and start the massacre of the Palestinian people to create the occupied, settler, illegal state known as Israel today. Straight up, you can see how they're operating. So we're going to take a very scholarly, academic look at this situation. Because even as we go through the document, you would notice, and history in general, when they speak of, for example, the Solomonic lineage, he was believed to be, supposedly. They like to use these terms, so it sticks in your mind. Supposedly of the Solomonic lineage, he was believed to be descendant and all of that stuff. But when we talk about is fake, Israel, as they call it, is not real, really. It is not real. You know, is fakey. Yeah, is fake. It's not real. Is really. Really? You believe that? Yeah. But when we speak of them, we don't say supposedly the people of Israel. It's supposed to become engraved in your mind that these are the children of the promise. No questions asked. It's not even supposed to be under investigation. But when you talk about the Ethiopian monarchy, supposedly, according to legend, I'm telling you, and they harp on that psychologically to play with you mentally. Yeah, they know how to do that. It's a part of their miseducation system. All right. So what I would like to do here, I would like to go straight to the document in question here, so I could highlight some information for you. And this is Ethiopia's foreign relations with Israel, and it is 1955 to 1985. Very good. Now, it is showing us here, and this was done by Jennifer A. Joyce, PS, Jennifer A. Joyce, and she herself, again, representing Howard University. In fact, we have all the information here that you yourself can take it in. All right, very important. Now let us look at this. It highlights from 1955 to 1998, but I'm just going to more concentrate on the period of Haile Selassie the first, and even this document actually goes beyond 1955, even from the time when Israel became a state in 1947, 1948. So just showing you some of the aspect of the document, the thesis, Ethiopia's foreign relations with Israel, 55 to 98. An author, Captain Joyce, Jennifer 8 has here, and performing organization's name and addresses, and it has Howard University. And of course, that's the famous Howard University, what you call traditionally traditional Black college. Very good. Now, and you could see here for those who are watching the chairperson and the PhDs and the important individuals who I would have seen here sign off this very important work, and you have acknowledgement, etc. Let me just run through quick something here in the abstract. This thesis, Ethiopia's foreign relations with Israel, 1955 to 1998, examines the nature and the impact of the diplomatic relationship between Ethiopia and Israel. From the rupture in relations during the Yom Kippur War in 1973 to the drama of Operation Solomon in 1991, the nature of the relationship has changed. What remains constant is the pragmatic adherence to national interests as the driving forces behind foreign policy. And if you, this is me speaking now, if you examine the tradition, or the history, I should say, of Ethiopia with Israel, is really pragmatic, how the relationship has really been run on a pragmatic basis, and that's basically all that has been taking place. And you will see that for yourself when we go into how Haile Selassie I would have dealt with Israel when it comes to, for example, when they were forming the state of Israel. Ethiopia abstained, you understand? When they wanted to become a member of the UN, Ethiopia voted against it. Israel, the Zionist state of Israel. And then Ethiopia cut off all ties with Israel in 1973 because, you know, Ethiopia had a working relationship with Israel as far as, teachers and bringing in experts, engineers, and so forth. You know how Ethiopia was doing it in that day. So it was not a case as if Ethiopia totally would have isolated the Israeli people. But again, it would have abstained when they wanted to form the state. It voted against it when they wanted to join the UN, and totally, in all form and fashion, cut off itself from Israel in 1973. That's Haile Selassie the first. You see how the King of Kings deal with the Zionists? Now, historians, even the good captain who would have written this thesis, would try to bring the whole aspect of the Arab world into the picture and put Haile Selassie in a position of maybe fear. And that's why he dealt with Israel like that. Now, I wouldn't deny that the geopolitical structure of the day is such that it was Israel against the Arab world, without a doubt. And Ethiopia was in a very mystic position there in the Horn of Africa. But to say that the King of Kings feared, I think they should check their language. That's really, and I'm not coming from a dogmatic level, I'm just coming from reality. Early relations between Ethiopia and Israel were amicable and based on a sense of shared heritage and common interest. Again, that's why it was pragmatic. Again, you see? A mixture of idealism, economic cooperation, and technical assistance characterized the relationships in the 1950s and the 1960s. However, pragmatic acknowledgement of the geopolitical realities held greater sway in the foreign political or foreign policy arena. Thus, when Ethiopian interests shifted to border security, listen to this, thus, when Ethiopian interests shifted to border security and Israel became more concerned with freedom of the Red Sea, Israeli military assistance was added to the economic programs. I want you to, take your time. And of course, you yourself can go through this full document that I am presenting to you as well. In fact, if you want to read the full document, you could visit, the link is in my video, Israel's plan for expansion, 7th of October. That's a recent video that I did. One of the individuals who commented would have left the link. It's a sister, I think it's Exubulant. I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrong, my sister. I think that's the name that I saw there at 1321, something of the sort. But the link is right there. It's not hard to find. You just visit that video and you'll find the link and you could read the full document for it yourself. And it says here, the military relationship grew stronger into the early 1970s until Ethiopia severed relationships with Israel in 1973. So you see what I'm saying? You can obviously see that there is not a strong commitment between Haile Selassie I and the settler colonized state, illegally, I would add, known as Israel. Now, you could argue, well, maybe because of geopolitical reasons. In fact, you yourself may try to get into the whole idea that, well, the Arabs that were surrounding the area would not have liked it if Haile Selassie was backing the Jews. And I agree with you. But that doesn't mean that's why he made these decisions. These decisions were made basically under the same understanding that some of the Arabs would have had, that this is an infiltration. This is illegal, and it is not right, plus these fellas are not the Jews. Not of the Bible anyway. Listen, we would have done programs on that. In fact, let me bring a little of that into it. Both Revelation 3 and 2 clearly highlight a set of people that say that they're Jews and are not. In fact, they are referred to as being of the synagogue of Satan. So anyway, so you get a bit of, when you go through this document, in the first chapter, you get a bit of the history of Solomon and Sheba. They really start there. The Captain Joyce, starts there to somewhat bring Ethiopia into a commonality, really, with the so-called state of Israel. So it's like if you're trying to prove, well, Ethiopia is up to speed with Israel. Imagine that. Imagine that. And Israel, remember, these people are Ashkenaz descendants. Nobody's denying that. They themselves say this. And in the Bible, we just did a whole program on that. And in the Bible, it clearly shows you that Ashkenaz is the son of Gomer, the son of Japhet. And you cannot be Ashkenaz and be of the children of Israel, who are of the children of Shem. But anyway, let me continue to go to keep it on this geopolitical level. So it continues to say here, obviously I'm skipping a few paragraphs and lines, etc. These emotional and cultural ties have served as a basis for the modern political relationship, that's obviously between Ethiopia and Israel, which began to develop in the 1940s. So although now, this is me speaking, although the document, the thesis is spanning from 1955 to 1998, yet still obviously has ventured more into the past from the 1940s. Obviously, that's when they really began to be a state, the so-called Israel. Despite these emotional ties, Ethiopia and Israeli leaders have both remained, again, pragmatic in their foreign policies. The strength of the relationship, however, has waxed and waned over the 52-year history of modern Israel. So that's when this thesis was done. In fact, the relationship between Ethiopia and the modern state of Israel began on a rather sour note. Please take your notes, family. This is important. Not sour notes now. Take your good notes. And again, you can visit the video and get the link for yourself. In 1947, when the United Nations General Assembly was voting on the establishment of the State of Israel, Ethiopia abstained. In 1947, when the United Nations General Assembly was voting on the establishment of the State of Israel, Ethiopia abstained. This history, this is coming straight out of Howard University. Again, Captain Jennifer Joyce, who would have done this thesis and made her presentation. Now, of course, again, they would have, within this document, it would have highlighted from their perspective the, reality, the Islamic aspect of this whole situation. In fact, I'm looking for the space. Where is it? Okay, good. While there are many reasons for this startling lack of support for Israel, startling lack for Israel in her hour of need. So that is how the world was looking at it. So why would a Christian country with the same heritage of Israel, why would Ethiopia turn its back on Israel in its time of need? While there are many reasons for this startling lack of support for Israel in her hour of need, the Ethiopian government's fear of reprisal from its Islamic neighbors was the prime motivator, you see? So in fact, let me read a bit more here. It says here, Emperor Haile Selassie, while eager to maintain relations with Israel, was supremely aware of the delicate position of a Christian Ethiopia surrounded by Muslim states. And I am not denying that part. It's just reality. But we know the king of fear, no reprisal. The king is a chess player. That's what it is. Now listen to this. Starting in 1955, and that of course is when we had our Silver Jubilee celebration. starting in 1955. If you don't know about that, watch the documentary. Go and Google or go on YouTube and type in Ethiopia 1955, and you will see what was going on in Ethiopia 1955, just after we ran Mussolini and his people out of Ethiopia. They left the place in a wreck. And all these propaganda videos like to talk about the Italians built some good roads. Some good roads, I'm telling you, boy. Starting in 1955, with the establishment of official diplomatic relations, Israel provided a variety of technical and economic assistance to Ethiopia, as I mentioned earlier. Ethiopia was not the only African recipient of Israeli technical assistance, although it did receive a larger share than most other African nations. Why you think? Because the King of Kings is shrewd. You understand? Now, the document goes on to somehow paint Theodore Herzl and the Zionists as some sort of benevolent group of people who was bent on civilizing Africa. And again, you can take the time to really read all of that for yourself. All right. Now, I would like to just run to the second chapter as it highlights more of the relationship between Haile Selassie I and the state of Israel, as it is referred to as. And as I said, it's quite a bit of reading for everyone who really wants to, for those who will be indulging in it. All right, chapter 2, Ethiopian relations with Israel, 1955 to 1972. In the 1950s and 1960s, the early days of their relationship, Ethiopia and Israel had a great deal in common. So this is from the 1950s now. Remember, keep this in mind. Earlier on, she went into the 1940s. And as she said, they started off on a sour note of Ethiopia saying, hey, we don't want to have nothing to do with these fellas here who want to come and form a state of Israel. Remember Haile Selassie the first, man. As has been said now, of the lineage of Judah, King of Kings, Christian King, the full works. So why wouldn't he want the children of Israel to return to their land? Why would he say, hey, I don't want no part of that? Because they're those who say that they're Jews and are not, but are of the synagogue of Lucifer. Revelation 2, Revelation 3. And then when it was time to vote for them to enter the UN, what, Ethiopia abstained again? Abstained. Ethiopia voted against it. Wow, that's a serious move. And the King of Kings was still doing business with them and trading and, human resources, etc. Well, the king shrewd, and the king is about building his people. But in 1973, he said, hey, tell you what, I don't want nothing to do with y'all. Get going. That was the harsh stance that Haile Selassie I had against his fakies. In the 1950s and 60s, I'm reading now, the early days of their relationship, Ethiopia and Israel had a great deal in common. Both were developing nations that had recently shaken free from their World War II British mandates. Yeah. The two nations also both saw themselves as besieged by their hostile Arab neighbors. Additionally, both bordered the Red Sea and were highly concerned with freedom of navigation within the Red Sea. Ethiopia and Israel also shared a sense of history based on their common biblical heritage, with the Ethiopian monarch claiming, you check the language, claiming. So the is fakies ain't claiming nothing. They're just it. with the Ethiopian monarchy claiming descendant from King Solomon. These common interests were at the heart of the early relations between Ethiopia and Israel. However, the common interests did not take precedence over the national interests of the individual countries, which is what I was explaining to you earlier. Despite historical affinities, the diplomatic, economic, and military ties that developed during the time were based on the realities of the Middle East politics. So you get what the author is highlighting here as it relates to why there was this unity as such in oneness as they referred to Ethiopia and Israel to some degree working together. Now, I just want to highlight something that was said here, and I would like to put this on the table to the scholars, to the academics, to the historians, to see how correct the statement was. She says here, 5 years after being crowned emperor, Haile Selassie came under attack from an invading Italian army in 1935. Mussolini's troops made their way to the capital, Addis Ababa, forcing Haile Selassie to flee the country in 1936 and seek refuge in the Jewish Rehavia quarter of Jerusalem. The emperor and his family spent a year living in Jerusalem, where they were received with sympathy and understanding by the Zionist leadership in Jewish Jerusalem. Now, is that true? I mean, I'd just like to know that. It says the emperor and his family spent a year living in Jerusalem. Now, from my understanding, Haile Selassie spent very little time in Jerusalem. I have the autobiographies. Now, if I'm not mistaken, yes, some aspects of the family would have spent some time in Jerusalem. I think Empress Menin was in Jerusalem for some time. I really honestly can't go and give you the full details right now, but from my reading, I know that some aspect of the family would have spent time in Jerusalem. Obviously, the king passed through the Jerusalem. That is the famous set of pictures. You see him in all white coming down the gangway of somewhat of a yacht, and the little white dog and everything. That was when he went to Jerusalem. And I know he didn't spend too much time there, because remember, by June, he was already in Geneva giving the speech. And then he returned back to London and the whole works. So to be in Jerusalem for a year, I think that our author may have to revisit that aspect. You see, when it comes to the King of Kings, we just have to be sure. And the way that is written, it's as if that the King of Kings and his family were in Jerusalem for a whole year, when again, maybe some aspect of the family spent a considerable amount of time there, months. But the emperor, basically for sure, on his part, went straight to Geneva. He left Ethiopia in May 36. He was on the podium in Geneva in June, the same 36, and he already passed to Jerusalem at that time. So just to make sure we have that to be corrected, And if any one of you that are listening think that I am wrong, well, you can let me know. This policy of non-provocation was instrumental in deciding Ethiopia's action in the United Nations in 1947, and 1948. In November 1947, Ethiopia avoided confrontation by not voting on the UN resolution which partitioned Palestine and granted Israel statehood. So abstinence there. In 1948, when the UN General Assembly voted on the question of Israel's membership in the UN, Ethiopia opposed it. Now, listen to this. Ethiopia's voting behavior in the UN bore fruit, according to this writer, in 1950. By not supporting Jewish causes in the UN, Ethiopia hoped to secure Arab and Muslim votes that it might need in future efforts to incorporate Eritrea, which took place. Thus, in 1950, the UN passed a resolution creating a federation of Ethiopia and Eritrea. Very beautiful, beautiful move. So you can understand now, and again, as you go through the document, you get a bit more detail as it relates to Ethiopia's relationship with the state of Israel. But it is obvious that the King of Kings had a clear understanding of Zionism and the Zionists and their agenda. And as diplomatic as we know our King of Kings to be, it's obvious that he just used his wisdom, master chess player, to milk whatever he could milk from these killers. But at the same time, I ain't voting for you. In fact, I'm voting against you. In fact, tell you what, come out of my country. I don't want to have nothing to do with you. And that is the type of relationship that our King of Kings, Emperor Haile Selassie I, had with the state of so-called Israel during the reign of our God and King. Again, this was highlighted 55 to 98, the document. But for sure, it engulfed the 40s to the 70s as it relates to Haile Selassie and the state of Israel. So who is the true Israelite? Holy Emmanuel I, Selassie I, Jah Rastafari. Give thanks.
It's the Winter Solstice Extravaganza, a festival unlike any other in the world. Join us for 5 days and 5 nights in the Caribbean island of Antigua. Experience our beaches, our historic island tour, splendid accommodations, and our plant-based meal. And of course, the sunrise and the sunset hike to the Stonehenge of the Caribbean, Green Castle Hill, Mount Anu, amongst the megaliths that align with the stars. Reserve your spot today and join us from Wednesday the 18th to Sunday the 22nd of December 2024 for the Winter Solstice Extravaganza. Visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or email us priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com.